Hi, welcome to a new webinar. This time I'm going to explain you the 6 steps which I often refer to in different webinars. Now, the strategic marketing planning process basically contains 6 different steps. I always explain these 6 steps because a lot of models, also which I explain in my webinars, are in a certain place in these 6 steps. Now, I always have these 6 steps in my mind. I can dream them. Why? Because if I talk to somebody, if this is business-wise or with my students or whatever, and they ask me a question, I first want to make sure in which part of the planning process they are. Because if you don't know the place in the planning process, it's sometimes really hard to write down what you mean or to make sure that you still stay neutral with your decisions or what you write down. Let's start with the first step. I always call this the situation analysis. The part what you do in the situation analysis is you just easily write down what company you are writing your business plan for, how you understood. A little bit of background information is good to start with, just a little bit of the history. How did the company start? How did it got successful? After you wrote that down, you start with also describing more concrete steps. For instance, the mission statement, the vision statement, the targets of the company, but also things like the organization structure, the organization culture, and the current strategies. After the situation analysis, you end up with the ABLE matrix or the ABLE model. You define in what business they are in. That's really important to end this part in the situation analysis. Why? Because this will be your bridge to the external analysis. Park this for a moment. Because a lot of you, I know that a lot of students watch my webinars as well, also have their problem statement. Yes, indeed, you kind of need a reason to make a business plan. So a problem statement and your advice question or your research question also are great to put in your situation analysis, or even they should be in your situation analysis. So these parts also are in your first paragraph. But if you are writing a business plan or a strategic marketing plan, you not necessarily need to have a problem definition or an advice question or a research question. You can easily make a business plan because the company needs a business plan or because they don't have one yet. And in this case, it's good to start the situation analysis just as I described. Why do you want to explain the history of the company for a certain company? Because it makes it really easy for the reader. There are a lot of stakeholders who also want to read this plan, and they should know how you, as a researcher, understood the company. So this is just your starting points of your plan. Now, the ABLE business definition. You defined the business that they are in. The interesting part is, since you have your customer analysis, customer segmentation on your axis, and you have the needs of these customers, and you have your technology axis with your own products, but also those of the competition, you can feel that the customer analysis and competition analysis or competitive analysis are already touched. You already mentioned them kind of in your situation analysis. So this is why the easy bridge to your external analysis is made from situation analysis chapter 1 to chapter 2, the external analysis. That's step 2, external analysis. Always start broad. So start with your macro analysis. And these are the D-step factors. So demographic, economic, social, technological, economical, and politics. So all those factors are macroeconomic factors. They belong in your external analysis, in your macro analysis. After that, you get your meso analysis. Within the meso analysis, we know different aspects, basically 4 aspects. First of all, the distribution analysis, then you get the branch analysis, your competitive analysis, and your buyer analysis, or if you want, customer analysis, which could be B2B or B2C, that doesn't matter. So these four are found in your external analysis. Now, end your MESO analysis with the 5 forces model of Porter. Often, it's not necessary that you use the 5 forces model of Porter, but it's a good place to end your MESO analysis. If you want to know if your market is attractive enough or not, if this is a solid question for your topic or for your business analysis, you use the 5 forces model and you do it on the end of your MESO analysis. Why? Because a lot of factors in the 5 forces model are already analyzed in the part of the MESO. So it's a good way to end up and to make a decision if this market is attractive or not. Let's go to the step 3, the internal analysis. The internal analysis obviously is about the company itself. You analyze the company there. Whilst you in the external analysis you never mention your own company, please remember that. It's about the external factors, only the competition, the buyers who don't really buy your product yet or are only interested in your product. You just see the external factors. Now you're analyzing the company, and you could mention the company if you want. Now the 7S model of McKinsey is a really helpful model to do so. So there are 7 different factors which you can analyze. But not only that, the value chain of Porter is also a really interesting model to investigate in your internal analysis. In your external analysis, you already mentioned the distribution analysis. You could use some value chain there as well for your suppliers, for instance, but in the internal analysis, you could use the value chain. Other models which you can use, for instance, are portfolio analysis, but that's complex because the portfolio analysis is also a strategic model, but you could have a small research if it is interesting to invest in certain markets or product market combinations if you want. So that's the internal analysis. Don't forget the financial analysis, because that's also really important in your internal analysis. Now, what you found in your external analysis are opportunities and threats. And in your internal analysis you found strengths and weaknesses of your company. Those combined go to your SWOT analysis. I've made a webinar of that as well. So the SWOT analysis, the long sum up of everything that you found. Then you go to your confrontation matrix, and then you have key issues. And those key issues go to your central problem or your main problem, which needs to be solved. You've got a cause and an effect. And the effect is that it's not good for your company to continue this way, which is option 0. And if you don't want to continue like this, you have to invent a strategy. The strategy often is also based on a portfolio analysis if you want, not necessary. So if you found certain product market combination or a strategical business unit or a certain country, for instance, which you want to invest in or which is wise to invest in, you can add the strategy for that specific business unit. But let's forget the portfolio, park that, and remember that you have to pick a strategy, which is in step 5, picking your strategy. Now you write down 3 different strategies. Option 0 is continue this way. Option 1, 2 or 3. You can pick from Porter, Tracy Wiersma, Blue Ocean, Ansoff, maybe a cooperation, an acquisition, or work together with a company, for instance. A sustainable competitive advantage needs to be found to solve this problem. You do so by the SFA matrix. Please find that, look that up. Maybe I'll make a webinar of it, but you have to pick a certain strategy, and only the SFA matrix gives you an answer which is the best option to pick from. If you pick that option, you're going to do the STP step, which is segmenting, targeting and positioning. So you have found certain buyer groups which are really interesting for you. So you have segmented them in your MESO analysis. Pick one or two, that doesn't matter, and you're going to focus on those segments. Within those segments you have target groups. You can, for instance, do niche marketing if you found a focus strategy, or you can maybe differentiate your marketing strategies. For certain types of groups you have different strategies. And if you have those target groups, then you're going to do the positioning. Make a positioning matrix, and that positioning has to distinguish yourself from competition. So pick a really strong positioning. After that, in step 6 is the implementation plan. This is where you work out the 4 P's: price, product, place, and promotion. Make no mistake, place is where your products can be found. So this is also your website strategy or your online strategy. So not only physical shops or physical distribution points, also your online strategy contains the place matrix. And within that you have several P's for online strategy if you want, but basically you have those 4 P's. And of course your marketing communication mix. You have to have a marketing communication plan. So these are the 6 steps that I always follow. So if somebody asks me about, for instance, the MABA analysis, I have to make sure, okay, where are you working in your plan? What's the place in your plan? The same goes if somebody asks me, yes, do I have to use my 5 forces Porter model? I go, okay, so you're in the MESO analysis, am I right? Which is the place where you are now? Oh yes, I'm only working with my competition. Okay, first work on that, then end up with your 5 forces. Or I don't know what the mission statement is. Then I know that you're in your situation analysis. But also a lot of those things that start in your situation analysis come back later. For instance, your ABLE analysis, you did that in the start. It could be that your strategy has been changed, or your advice is to change the strategy. Then please let your ABLE matrix come back and define a new ABLE matrix, because you have new consumers. The same goes for the 7S model of McKinsey. You have analyzed the 7 S's and you maybe have found that some certain areas are pretty weak. Then you have to solve those. You solve those in your step 6. You give an advice. You should work with this, with your staff, or different systems, or different strategy, whatever. So a lot of models also come back and you can give them advice on the end. If there is no mission statement, for instance, you can write down a new mission statement since you have chosen a different strategy. So a lot of models also come back, and it's not enough to just say, okay, these are weak and these are bad. Also give an advice in step 6 how they should be changed. Okay, I hope you found this model interesting and helpful to write your business plans or your marketing plans. Please stay connected by subscribing to my channel. If you have any models which you also want to have explained, please leave them in the comment section below. But you can leave any comment if you like in the section below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next webinar.